Hawthorne Hill isn't like any school you've ever known. Here, grades don't make you stand out. Money doesn't make you special. Real power is when an entire hallway falls silent just because you walk through. And if anyone held that power, it was Preston Langford, star quarterback, son of a state senator, a name whispered with both fear and admiration. He didn't need to threaten you. He just had to look. But that day, for the first time, that look didn't work. For the first time, someone stood still, didn't flinch, didn't bow, didn't care. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't move aside. She just said one thing: "You're in my way." And less than 10 seconds later, he was on the ground, face to the floor, reputation shattered, and his power gone. That morning, the second floor hallway at Hawthorne Hill was strangely quiet. No one knew that just minutes later, the undisputed king of the school's power chain would be lying flat on the floor, his reign shattered. Aaliyah Monroe, the new girl, quiet, barely noticed, was on her way to class. There was a calculus test waiting for her. She wasn't looking for trouble, but trouble was already waiting for her. As she turned the corner, Preston Langford was there, leaning against the lockers like a scene from a bad teen movie. His smirk said everything. And people, they were already watching. Phones slid out of pockets. Conversations dropped to a whisper. The air, thick and humming, knew what was coming. Well, look who decided to show up," Preston said. "Sure you're in the right hallway honor roll, or did they start letting scholarship cases roam the upper floors?" Silence fell. One sentence, and the hallway turned into a courtroom. A boy whispered, "He did not just say that." A girl covered her mouth. Someone muttered, "She's gonna cry." But Aaliyah didn't cry. She didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. She stood still, took one deep breath, and in that single moment of stillness, her father's words echoed. "You don't need to raise your voice to earn respect. Just stand your ground. When you don't back down, they will." Aaliyah's grip on her backpack tightened. "Move," she said, calm, clear. Preston scoffed, took a step closer. "Who do you think you are?" he sneered. "This school isn't for people like—" Then he shoved her, not hard, but enough to say, "I'm above you." And the world held its breath. The hallway froze. Phones were aimed. Fingers hovered over record. And then Aaliyah moved. She dropped her bag. One fluid motion. She turned, grabbed his wrist, pivoted, and slam! Preston Langford hit the ground hard. His back smacked the tile floor with a crack loud enough to echo. His face locked in shock. His body still. And just like that, the king had fallen. The crowd erupted. "Oh my God! Did you see that?" She flipped him like it was nothing. Applause, laughter, phones buzzing with uploads. A wave of cheers surged through the hallway. Aaliyah calmly picked up her backpack, stepped over him like he was a puddle. "Told you to move," she said, soft, cold, unbothered. Aaliyah walks down the hallway. Sunlight cuts through the windows, stretching her shadow across the floor. Behind her, Preston still lies there, flat on his back, surrounded by a ring of students filming, whispering, pointing. Everything he once controlled, now out of his hands. And Aaliyah? She walked away like no one had ever stopped her. Hawthorne Hill used to have a king, but that morning, a silent warrior rose and shattered the throne with a single cold throw. Aaliyah Monroe's takedown of Preston Langford didn't end when she walked away from the hallway. In truth, it had only just begun. Moments after she disappeared around the corner, the hallway exploded. "Airdrop me that clip!" She flipped him like nothing. Who even is she? Clips flew from phone to phone, one from the left side, one in slow motion, one already remixed with dramatic music. For the first time, the name Aaliyah Monroe lit up every group chat and stayed at the top. Elsewhere, Aaliyah walked toward her next class, calm as ever, backpack in hand, eyes forward. But nobody looked at her the same anymore. Students moved aside instinctively as she passed. Nobody blocked her path. Nobody dared say a word. A few whispered behind her, "That's her. Don't look too long, she might flip you next." In her first class after the incident, the tension was thick. Preston Langford sat in the back row, silent. No jokes, no smirks. Just him, leaning back in his chair, fingers locked, eyes staring out the window. Chase opened his mouth like he might say something, then didn't. No one spoke to him. For the first time, it wasn't respect surrounding Preston. It was silence. A few rows ahead, Aaliyah sat alone, taking notes, focused, but her eyes were sharp, her ears sharp enough to catch even the softest whispers. Between periods, they crossed paths again near the stairwell. No words, just eyes. She didn't blink. He didn't turn away. Just a slight smirk, half amusement, half challenge. Then he walked off. Aaliyah knew he wasn't done. And right then, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Jim, 4:15 p.m., no cameras, no one else. We end this. No audience. She read the message. Expressionless. Slipped her phone into her pocket like it was just another assignment alert. Narration closes the moment with quiet strength. He picked the battleground. She didn't need home court. She only needed her balance like she'd had this morning. Because some fights don't need a crowd, just one person who's not afraid. 4:13 p.m. The gym door swung open, then slammed shut behind Aaliyah. The room was vast, echoing under the tall ceiling. Polished hardwood floors reflected the cold white light. No music, no noise, just stillness and breath. And the ones waiting for her. Preston Langford stood at center court. No smirk, no charm, just a steady stare. Cold, tense, final. Behind him, Brent, Chase, Dylan, his usual crew. Bigger, loyal, and today ready to do the dirty work. Aaliyah stopped a few meters away. Didn't speak. She slipped off her backpack, placed it gently on the floor. A flicker passed through her mind. Her father sweat on the mat, teaching her every block, every counter. Only when you have to. Never strike first, but when you do, finish it clean. 4 against 1, Aaliyah said calmly. Really, Preston? That scared? Not scared, he answered. Just making sure you don't walk out of here thinking you've won. No countdown, no warning. Brent charged first. Big, broad, heavy-footed. Aaliyah sidestepped, spun, swept. Thud! He hit the mat like a tree collapsing in the woods. Chase came from behind. Temp! She drove her elbow back into his ribs. He buckled, gasping, dropping to one knee. Dylan hesitated. That was his mistake. She pivoted. Whack! A front kick straight to the chest. He flew back, skidding across the hardwood. His phone shot from his pocket. Clack! Sliding to her feet. 3 down, 1 left. Preston roared. No technique, just rage. He swung wildly. She dodged. Left, right, fluid. Then crack! Her kick landed clean in his gut. He folded forward. She grabbed his collar, spun. Slam! He crashed onto the floor so hard the echo bounced off every wall. Preston lay there dazed, gasping, face flushed, one hand trembling as it tried to push off the mat. You'll regret this, he wheezed. It's not over. Aaliyah knelt down, close to his face. Her voice was ice. Wrong, it ends right here. She stood, didn't look back. Walked past 4 bodies on the ground, step by solid step. The golden afternoon sun cut through the tall windows. Her shadow stretched across the court. A breeze crept in through a crack in the door. Cool, clean, final. No one said a word. They didn't have to, because the message had been delivered. They came 4 strong. She brought one reason. And today, she proved to the whole school, real power doesn't need to scream. Just one fall at the right time. Less than 24 hours after the gym fight, Hawthorne Hill wasn't the same. A 28-second clip had already gone viral in every group chat, school, forum, Instagram story, and TikTok feed. No music, no captions, no edits, just 4 bodies on the floor, and one girl standing alone, the afternoon sun casting a long shadow behind her. Most shared caption, she didn't come to play, she came to reset the rules. Preston Langford no longer walked the halls like he owned them. No one looked him in the eye. No one walked beside him. Some avoided him. Some even smirked. From a social king, he fell. And this time, there was no one to break his fall. Rumors swirled that his father, a local politician, had called the school, demanding a legal review of the footage, but the administration acted faster. A bulletin posted on the board that afternoon read, Preston Langford, suspended for 1 month. Athletic scholarship under review. Brent, Chase, Dylan, banned from sports, official conduct warning. Gym access, restricted pending safety review. Aaliyah Monroe wasn't mentioned. She didn't need to be. Everyone knew, without her, it would have never stopped. She didn't speak out. She didn't brag. She didn't play the hero. She stayed silent, showed up to class on time, walked through the hallways where students instinctively stepped aside. A freshman accidentally bumped into her at a hallway corner. He froze, panicked. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Aaliyah just gave a small smile, nodded. It's okay, just don't walk with your head down. Look up, walk steady. A simple sentence. But coming from her, it hit like a lesson in power. The next morning, she was called into the principal's office. No lecture, no scolding, just Principal Weston and someone else. Miss Matheson, literature teacher. She had served in the military with Aaliyah's father. I served with your dem, Matheson said. And when I watched that clip, I saw him in you. Not the fight, the way you stayed calm, precise, and didn't gloat when it was over. Aaliyah gave a slight bow of her head, said nothing, but her eyes softened just for a moment. As she walked out of the office, she caught the eye of the school secretary, who smiled gently as she tucked away a new file. A slip of paper peeked out. It read, Nominee, Honor Leadership Scholarship, Aaliyah Monroe. No words exchanged, no announcements needed, but everything was understood. No titles, no microphone. She didn't come to be heard. She came so that no one else would have to stay silent ever again.